that you mentioned, we need to be very careful about understanding, like when you said, my boy can trust me and, I'm there for him all the time. Many people can misinterpret it as thinking that, you need to be lenient and to do whatever your boy wants you to do, or your child. I shouldn't say just a boy, whatever your child wants you to do, right? And that's where I find a lot, especially in India, I see that a lot, where we're shifting from an authoritarian, listen to whatever your parents say. We're trying to get away from that. But the problem is we slip into being more permissive and allowing our children to do whatever we take. So just because we connect to our children and are warm with our children, how do you balance that out, where you're not that, on one hand, you're warm and connected, but at the same time, you're not being permissive with the children?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think that we're really, first of all, I think it's completely natural that a culture, whatever the culture is, we all do this. We go from one extreme and then the pendulum swings to the other, right? So you're going from, you're saying this authoritarian type parenting to a more permissive type of parenting. I mean, I think it's just part of the learning process. But ultimately, what research shows is that an authoritative model of parenting where you have strong connection, but you also have very clear, loving limits is what works best. And so in answer to your question, getting really, really good at setting loving limits is gonna be what makes all the difference. I mean, if you think about, like, we talked about aggression being fear in disguise, right? Our kids, one of our main jobs is to help them feel safe. So if you think about, like, when we're driving on a highway and there are guardrails on the side, we don't drive into those guardrails, hopefully, right? They're there, but we're not banging into them all the time as we drive, hopefully, but they really allow us to feel safe, right? They provide a lane for us to drive in, containment of a sort that we can move within and feel much more confident. And limits are like that for our kids. They need them. Limits are a gift to our kids. We are not doing our kids any service at all by being permissive and letting them run the show. They need parents who are leaders of their family. We need to lead our family. There's no one right way to do it, right? Your values might be different from my values. Your values around electronic use or what your child eats or bedtimes or where your child sleeps. All these things, like, there are kids who co-sleep with their parents until they're 13 years old and turn out fine, and there are kids who sleep in their own room in a crib from when they're born, and they're fine. There's no one right way to do it, but it is really important for each of us as parents to think about, what are our values, what is important to us and our family, what allows us to show up as our best parenting selves, and then to hold limits around it. So if having a family dinner each night is a value of yours, it might not be a value of mine, that's fine. But if it's a value of yours, then you hold limits around that. Your child says, as they move into their teen years, oh, but I want to go with my friends. Absolutely, you can go with our friends after dinner. We're going to come have dinner, be together for half an hour, and then you can go do whatever you want. We hold that limit lovingly. They can have feelings about it, but we are very clear that this is what's going to happen. And when they're younger, the limits are different, right? The limits are maybe about going to bed at a certain time, or getting dressed, or doing homework, or whatever it is, treating each other with respect, right? Not hitting, for example. These are our value. My value is that, we treat each other with respect. We don't hurt one another. Then if I have one of my boys is treating another one poorly, it is my job as the parent to come in and keep everyone safe, emotionally safe, physically safe. I move in with a loving limit. So that is really what prevents us from moving into that permissive wishy-washy state of parenting that really doesn't help our children grow into the best people that they can be. And honestly, most people don't parent very well there because we end up feeling very resentful, right? If we're not listening at all to our own needs as parents, then we become quite resentful to our children. And then we end up treating them poorly, not parenting with connection, but parenting by control more often than not. And then we're digging this sort of rift in our relationship with our child, which is exactly the opposite of what we're wanting to be doing.